Welcome. Welcome. Check 1, 2. Check, check. Check 1. Check 1, 2. Check. Check 2. Check.
already made their payment, is it going to go back to Equilini, or it cancels the?
Through your worship, we obviously have recourse under that, but
I assume they're not coming up until. Yeah, we could sit here.
We're not gonna be here, you won't make no real sense.
Big wise, you get to sit. Stacy and I are in the same bubble, so don't freak out.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's how rumors start, but,
You need to be around for a media scrum, which media will be online. Wayne will pull you in at the end of the meeting. Although, you know what? You could probably, if you're going directly on, you could probably get home, go on to Zoom, and then just text Wayne, tell him you're gonna, if there's any need for scrum, you'll do it from home after the clip.
I'm sure you told him, be like, oh, why don't you bend over right now and look at my bike?
I really won't start till 7:30.
Maybe they're starting early because hi. You get my note about oh, Stacy started talking.
Oh,
Is that the community kitchen? That
yes,
thing we're talking
yeah.
about? Oh, that wouldn't be. I'd have to go deeper into the criteria, but I think whether it's legal, is that I don't even know. To be honest, I'm not sure it's a rule. I'd have to go look. But I think we say no fundraising because otherwise, what I tell people is, if council wants to give you money, they do it directly. You can't ask for money for a fundraiser and then take the money and put it towards your thing. That's a flow through of.
I totally get that. And she
Yeah, so if it's the same event we think it is, which I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I'd have to look, but I don't think that's an impediment. Although we have traditionally turkey that is the boxes. The box doesn't get any bigger, right? That's the problem.
And I get that. I didn't know what I gave you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I had heard Alan Atkins. I'm pretty sure is volunteering with that group because he had told me about this event that was going to take over from the field. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. But that one he told me about was definitely a fundraiser. Because I remember having the discussion. I said, every time someone tries to do a culinary event that's a fundraiser, it declines because they go for the money and not the food over time, right? Which is it sort of erodes. But maybe that's a natural cycle. I think it's the, I just remember kitchens in my head. Community kitchen, soup kitchen. I know Alan's excited about the concept. I'm not familiar exactly what it is, but he thought it was going to be pretty cool. Yeah, she can give me a call. We can chat it through. I'd have to go back on the social agency. I'd have to read the criteria because that's getting into a. I'd have to read it. I don't have them because normally we deal with culture. I know when people have tried to take us into sport, we've sort of drawn a line. Partly because some of the sport gets funded by Bobby through sport tourism, and also just we'll have 200 applications.
Oh, I mean, I was kind of. Community funding, like it. Yeah, and I.
Lots of ways we can help marketing, like all of that, and it could be a change in staff too.
And they could get all that special event infrastructure, the garden cans, all that kind of stuff. They could go get. It's just the grant card we have to look into. But the first question to ask is if it's a fundraiser. Sorry.
No, that's not that. The one across Main Street.
Oh, across Main. We have one in front of the building for very, what was it? It was for the celebration or something. We put a banner on one and Scott Brown allowed it. we haven't done that. That's been, like, everybody will be asking, but we haven't had a lot of asks. But it's a little tricky. That one. I think the way it works is if you're looking at City Hall, this building, the old building, and right beside it is the, I don't know, called the annex, and there's a face of brick, I think. Because one won't allow it on the building, I don't think.
Okay, maybe we should ask.
Juan would be a starting point or Scott Brown.
Thanks, Steve.
Michelle West. And she's on vacation, so I haven't got a report on it. But I think it's going to largely follow the theme that we were talking about court sports. Yeah. I should ask the mayor how it went. That's fine. I used to work in a radio station. I know not to talk trash in front of hot mics. That's how people get fired.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order. This is for your, just to refresh your memory, this is just a regular CIC. This is not a formal council meeting. So we don't have the formal council protocol to follow. Does anybody have a conflict of interest to declare on any items? No? We'll carry on then. So we'll begin with item 1.1, tourism snapshot and the market basket. Stacey Russell, Manager of Recreation, Tourism and Community Engagement for those people that are watching online.
Well, I'll just take tourism, but thank you, Your Worship. So this is, I won't lie, I've actually been hesitating about coming here on this. It's I think everybody would realize it's not the best news. It's our hospitality industry has been devastated. That's probably a word I'll use fairly often in my presentation, the devastation. It's been tough. So I wanted to come here today to give you a quick update on it and what we're doing for Fredericton Tourism to be able to help as much as we can our industry through this. So we're clearly seeing the impact of no cultural events, no sport, no conferences, no festivals. We're heading into Harvest Week. It's definitely taking its toll. It's taking its toll on our hotels, our restaurants, attractions. Some of them haven't opened yet, or we're slow in opening. And they simply don't have the traffic that they're used to. So of visitors coming in or the general public being able to experience things. And this is also why these investments in all of these industries are so very important, because when we lose them, we can feel it. And our industry, as I said, is really taking a beating. It's been a devastating summer. From a hotel occupancy standpoint, for the month of July, revenue is down 65%. So yeah, it's a wild number. The silver lining on it is our month of July, we were performing better than any other region within the Maritimes. So we are working hard to be able to get every piece of business that we can. And that's what I'll be explaining to you this evening on some of the things that our office is doing to be able to help our industry. But I really wanted to start this to be able to kind of explain where we're at. But as I said, you all, I'm sure, are well aware of this as well. So the moment we were sent home, our office, we went, what can we do? What can we do to help our industry? So we started immediately by creating the Support Fred Local initiative. So that initiative started, and I want to stress this, we wanted to make sure that we maintained all the rules and regulations the Department of Health had. So we started with, how can we help our industry? By encouraging people to stay home and get their, of deliveries or any ways that they can help support the industry, but by doing it from the comforts of their home so that everyone is staying safe. So we did, we created, as you see here, the Support Fred Local, the branding of it, the logo. We profiled a number of businesses. We had on the tourism website, a landing page for Support Fred Local. It listed every business that was doing deliveries. And then as things changed with COVID, it opened it up to every business that was offering takeout. And then that page was updated numerous times a day. And it progressively, it was the source of information, and where everyone was using the hashtag of Support Fred Local. We continued to see a lot of traction. This was all being done really from our basements at home. So of how we could help that hospitality industry. I am very proud to say that we saw over 100,000 outbound links from that page. So that's people that are clicking to take out or skip the dishes, or to learn more of how I can buy flowers for my mother at home, or do like all sorts of different ways. People wanted to know how they could support locally and how could we help our hospitality industry. This one was interesting. So we played the guessing game, our office did, of what was the announcement going to be? Was the bubble going to open? When was the bubble going to open? We had plans A, B, and C in the can. So of our ads ready, of our communications set, translated, ready to go for what that might be. It could have been PEI only. It could have been Nova Scotia. It could have been New Brunswick. So there was a lot of planning done by our team of how would that work and getting everything set and ready. So the moment that the Premier made the announcement, we were the first destination in Atlantic Canada to make that announcement that the bubble was opened and we are ready to take you, like to take all our visitors into Fredericton. So we were quite proud of that, and it was actually recognized as well by our tourism industry. A lot of our attractions and different partners recognized that, oh my gosh, like it was e-blasts, it was social media, we were out, translated, everything, all set to go. So it's a lot of work that was happening by our full team behind the scenes of making sure we could do everything we could to help our industry. That includes as well working with our industry. We've got an incredible hospitality industry in this city. So when you look at, they have not taken this laying down. They're progressive, they're changing. We have a hotel who's created a drive-in theater and has completely rebranded themselves as a resort destination. They're seeing visitors coming from all around New Brunswick and Frederictonians enjoying it. We're seeing lots of restaurants that are creating interesting patio experiences or different ways that they can expand. They're reaching out to Fredericton Tourism for our division of kind of brainstorming ideas. How can we help promote? What can be done? So it's definitely a large partnership with our industry, and we're there to help in any way that we can. As well, on our meetings and conventions and our sports side, as I mentioned at the beginning, they are taking one heck of a hit. So we're working, our team is working behind the scenes of rescheduling. So any of those conferences that were taking place in 2020 and some into 2021, we're rescheduling those deeper. So we're booking business right now for 2022, 23, 24, we even have 25. So as an example, for meetings and conventions, we've just recently booked 2 citywides for 2024 and 2025. We're also in the process of trying to secure 2 citywides for 2021, fingers crossed. This obviously, everything is a moving target. The same thing for sport, where we've secured events for 22, 23, and 24. So yes, we are a little bit on hold in those markets, but we're digging deep to be able to get the business for when we come out of it. So a lot with both sport and meetings and conventions are those relationships with with different meeting planners or sport organizations. So Bobby and Karen in our office are working hard at that. And that goes as well for our trade in terms of our buses. So that we're working, Mary Ellen in our office is working on that as well, of how can that, what does the future look like on our travel trade market? So this summer we launched a summer packaging campaign. So I'll be perfectly frank, packages is not something that we've done in a number of years. This is, again, how we've been a little bit progressive too in terms of changing what's being done. So a package, stay and play package, we've used our funding, we received funding from Destination Canada, which generally would have been used for domestic markets of promoting Canada to Europe, et cetera. They were obviously not, there's no international travel happening. So that money was coming back to individual cities. So for Fredericton Tourism, and it's allocated, has to be spent for tourism. It has to be tourism dollars. We took a little bit of a different spin on this and wanted to make sure, instead of putting it towards advertising, we wanted to put it straight towards our local industry. So we partnered with Downtown Fredericton and Business Fredericton North in the purchase of downtown dollars. So that's what was used for our summer packaging campaign. There were over 35 packages. It was the most visited page on the tourism website. It more than doubled our homepage traffic. So it got an awful lot of traction. And what it helped do as well is weave the story of Fredericton in terms of we're a craft brewing capital. We have incredible trails, our waterways. Like it explained Fredericton as a destination, both for anybody who is thinking of it now, but perhaps looking into the future of coming to visit Fredericton. The second piece was we got very fortunate. So you might remember a number of years ago when we launched our destination videos. So Mike Corey created those, a local videographer. Well, Mike has since left Fredericton. He international traveler working for BBC. We got fortunate in the sense of he came home during COVID, and we quietly found out and jumped on the opportunity to be able to partner with him on a 5-video campaign of basically through all of his international travel and all of the incredible things he's seen around the world, what did he miss about Fredericton? And what was he most looking forward to? Really looking at that angle. So he did 5 videos. I am proud to say that already we've seen more than 500,000 views through those videos, and that continues to grow. So we're continuing to work with Mike on other ways that we can leverage these video assets into the future. But we're not stopping. My gosh, fall and winter. It's not getting any easier here. Our team's still working away. So we're actually even going to get more aggressive looking into the fall. So I hope to come back to be able to give more information to you in the near future, but I will give you a little bit of a snapshot of where we plan to launch a fall packaging campaign at the end of this week, and it's called Stay a Night, Dinner's on Us. So you stay one night in Fredericton with a package, you check in, go to the front desk, and they say to you, would you like $50 in downtown dollars or $50 in Business Fredericton North dollars? So this is once again a partnership that we're securing dollars using our Destination Canada funding. So that funding's available for this, and money that again is going right back into the local industry. And our hope is to be able to continue this packaging into the winter, basically till we run out of Destination Canada funds. But we would be one of the only cities that we're aware of across the country that's actually using the funds to put it right back into our local destination and our hospitality industry. So we're very proud of it. We're excited about this campaign. And as I said, I hope to be able to come back in the near future to be able to show you some graphics and some information on it. But we're really doing everything we possibly can to be able to ring that till for our hospitality industry and see them through this incredible devastation of COVID. So thank you. If there's any questions.
I'm sure there are. And before we get into questions, thanks for that presentation. And thanks to you and Dave and the entire team for everything you've been doing and will continue doing this file.
We have an incredible team.
The council and really appreciates it, and the hospitality sector in Fredericton definitely appreciates it. Thank you. Councillor Grandy.
Thank you, Worship, and Stacey, thanks so much for bringing this forward and presenting it to us. And I know the hesitation because of such devastating news, but you know, out of things, bad news comes challenges and come up to opportunities. And I want to, I guess I'm going to echo the mayor's comments here, and I want to really echo the appreciation to you and your staff. I mean, I use the word innovation because you're innovators. You've innovated solutions to try to help our businesses stay sustainable and support them. And a lot of times, City Hall is often looked at as Big Brother and not caring and everything else. And you've taken that to a different, you swung the pendulum over that, you know, we understand the challenges that businesses are under. We understand the challenge that this COVID has done to our community, and you know, we want to help. And from day one, and I know from discussions with Dave and Ken that, you guys have stepped forward and said, look, we need to help everybody and we need to put innovative solutions in. This packaging that you call and some of the things are just tremendous. I've had discussions with Sarah out of the Delta and a few others, and they do really appreciate the support. Believe it or not, they're very positive comments on your group and what the city's done, and David and his participation as well. So I think the city of Fredericton and the people of Fredericton should be very proud of the work that you and your crew have done, and taking care of business here and supporting business. And I just want to say thank you.
Councillor Keenan.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll try and be brief. I know we've got some folks coming in. I just wanted to first commend you on the great work that you've done. As Councillor Grandy said, you have been innovative in responding to this. The downtown and business Fredericton North dollars, I think, is a great program. People love something free. And in this case, they turn around, they spend it at another business in Fredericton. So it's fantastic. We've already partook in one of those. We were at the Delta for a weekend, and we'll have another staycation at one of the other hotels and through the fall. So it's a great city to hang out in, and when you get a free supper out of it, all the better. So congratulations there. And also, the one thing I wanted to mention, as you walk around the city, you talked about how the businesses, hospitality businesses and restaurants are innovating. And I think one of the positive outcomes going forward will be the use of what was dead space in the city, especially in behind the buildings. If you haven't been over to the Provincial and 540, and they're utilizing some space in behind their building that is just gorgeous. I mean, if a little bit of work to, for access to get in there. And I actually talked with one of the managers there and said, look, you should come talk to downtown Fredericton, talk to the city about how do we make that more inviting, because those are iconic spaces we can use to really liven up the city again. Those umpteen opportunities there. So, but back to what you've been doing. Thank you very much. And it sounds like when we come out of this on the other end, when we can open up, that working hard, and we've got lots that'll happen in the city and get us moving and vibrant again.
So
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, by extension, thanks to our fantastic hospitality sector owners and operators. They are inventive and novel, and they're fighting hard, tooth and nail, to get through this. And I really appreciate the people of Fredericton that have been supporting them. So thanks. 1.2, permission letter for construction access, Highland Reservoir Trunk Water Main. Ryan Seymour. Yes. Oh, you have a second piece.
You still got me.
Oh, you still got me, yeah. Part 2, the floor is yours.
Okay. So
The market basket.
it's still in that presentation. Yep. Perfect. Okay.
There we go.
So in staying with our hospitality industry, we'd be remiss not to also talk about our market vendors. So all of our vendors now, our markets are very different than what they've previously looked like pre-COVID. So this has been something that we've been talking about for quite some time, since COVID, I should mention. It feels like forever. Of how can we help these vendors to be able to offset any lost revenues. So what we've created is the Market Basket. It's a web portal for our market vendors of anybody who's selling online. So that can be, we've left it quite broad at the time, for the time now, of anybody who's selling. It could be through a social media channel, or ideally through an online platform or website. And Adam, are you able to? So the website has just gone live today. So we are announcing it here this evening, and we will be posting it on social media once council's finished. So the Market Basket, we have over 91 vendors currently on And that will continue to grow, obviously, once it goes live. We can see that coming very fast. So it's a way to be able to help support these vendors when their revenue obviously is down right now, of how can we help drive additional traffic and really promoting Fredericton as a market destination. We have some incredible farmers markets in this city, and this is a way of being able to tie that all together and really promote the destination itself. So here's just a couple quick screenshots of it. I should have mentioned the website address is marketbasket.ca. So it's a very seamless website in the sense of, if you were scrolling down on it, this is just a screenshot of four of the vendors. And if you want to go over to the next one as well, it shows basically, it's a click through to bring you right to their online website. A brief description shows if they do take or delivery, if they're at various markets, what categories they're in. So this creates an incredible opportunity for Fredericton tourism as we now look at different ways that we can promote these vendors and these locally made crafts. So as we continue to go into the fall, you'll see lots of different announcements and opportunities we can use within this site. So if you want to. So as well, we have a section on the top left of submit your listing. So some of this wording, I do apologize, has changed. It's no longer business listing, it's more of it's vendor listings. Some of this information is a little bit different, but where vendors are able to fill it out, we will then be notified of it, review it, send it to translation, then it goes up on the website just like that. So it's a very seamless operation of hopefully being able to move things along quite well. The next slide. So we hope that this will also, once COVID ends, this will make us that much more stronger, where these vendors will have another revenue source over and above markets to be able to help sustain them. So as I said, 91 that are on right now, we have more that are a translation, and then we expect this to continue to grow quite a bit. So we're continually promoting this to our vendors, and we'll, like I said, be launching it to the public this evening.
Well, that was worth waiting for. Councillor McDermott? No? Councillor Keenan?
Yeah, just one quick question. Do you review them for local content? Like, you're ensuring they're somewhat local? I don't mean in the city, but local.
Yes, absolutely. It has to be their handmade products. It would be, we're looking at it in the same lens. They have to be a vendor of one of our markets. So we have a number of markets or a seasonal market.
Thank you. Great initiative.
Back, Councillor Malay.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm actually looking forward to going on and buying some local stuff. In fact, that it's all of our markets. It shows, right, how big our Garrison market was, and it's quite neat. And I don't know who comes up with the names of all the project that comes out of your shop, but it's always
this one was a tough one.
And this one kind of works. It works in French too, so it's kind of neat. So kudos.
Yes, through you, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. I should have mentioned too that obviously this is a fully bilingual website. So.
And I'm sure that was just not by fluke either, Councillor Malay. So, yeah. Councillor McGarity.
Your Worship, look, just great work. It just demonstrates, where there's a will, there's a way. Whatever the hardships, we find a way around it. But also too, it's bringing small vendors out, even outside the city in. We provide that for smaller communities because they're really hurting too. The good thing about that is we bring a lot of people, and that means they spend their dollars. So everybody benefits, and that's what the city does for small communities. We support them that way. So that goes for good public relations with all communities on a regional scale. So this is all good news, and as soon as this is over, whenever it is over, we're going to come out much stronger. Great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
All right, now on to 1.2. Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very quick with this one. Basically, what you have before you is a letter from NB Power. We are doing work this year on the water main that is leading up along Cliff Street, along the transmission line that's in that area. And in order to get permission to use NB Power's site, they requested that we sign this document, just laying out the terms of our work. So it's pretty straightforward.
Moved by Councillor Chase, seconded by Councillor Keenan. On the question? Any hands up? No? All those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried. All right, we'll just take a just a 5-minute break while we bring our guests in. Stay here though, but just a 5-minute intermission.
Oh, the first time, it's okay. I didn't even notice.
I know, not even by color. We can watch our TikTok here.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting back to order and welcome to our guests. I'll just begin just briefly here. We invited the parties to attend tonight to speak to us, and we had sent out a letter on council's behalf outlining what the key priorities for the city of Fredericton were in the election, and we're hoping to hear what the parties and the candidates that are here tonight can speak to those as best possible. We did not receive a reply, or we did receive a reply from the People's Alliance. They were not able to attend or send anybody in the leader's absence. We did not hear back from the KISS party, and there was supposed to be somebody from the Progressive Conservative Party here tonight, but as of just the other day, there was going to be somebody, but there's nobody here at the moment. So we'll find out what happened afterwards, but they were invited and did say they would be here, but unfortunately, there's no candidate. So the rules tonight are very loose, other than one. There's 10 minutes maximum. At 9 minutes, I'll give you a signal that you have 1 minute left to go. So everybody has 10 minutes maximum to speak. There are no questions, so the floor will be yours. I will begin to just highlight for the audience's education, the highlights that were in the letter that we sent to you, that the key issues that the city has on its mind during this election. One of those is the Performing Arts Center. And the Playhouse is at the end of its life and is at risk of critical systems failure. The city has allocated $14 million for this project and would like the province and provincial governments to be equal partners in a new Performing Arts Center for the capital. No new operating dollars would be required. An aquatic center. With the pending closure of the Shermax Aitken Pool, this is a community-led project that will require support from the provincial and federal governments, the region, UNB, and the private sector. It requires both new capital dollars and new operating dollars. Infrastructure renewal. The city needs to continually and does invest in core infrastructure renewal, water and sewer, wastewater, streets, stormwater systems, and replacing old with new. These projects need to be coordinated with climate change adaptation projects. The city needs support for its adaptation and climate change work. Legislation and policy. This includes property tax reform, changes to allow the city to generate non-tax revenue, municipal reform that seeks to share infrastructure costs amongst communities within the region, changes to the binding arbitration process to allow for sustainable and affordable public safety services, and a focus on population growth and immigration attraction and retention. The belief that citizens should pay for services they receive is a cornerstone of the democratic society. Today, the taxpayers living in Fredericton are subsidizing lower tax rates for adjacent and neighboring rural LSD areas. The city tax rate is 1.43 per 100, while the average subsidized rural LSD rate is less than half at 63 cents, 0.63. This has created inequalities, unnecessary duplication of services, and fosters urban sprawl. Reform is necessary and overdue. On economic development, we need continued support of the cybersecurity initiatives, and specifically a new cybersecurity park building at Knowledge Park. Mental health, addictions, and homelessness. The public safety risk and impact on the downtown businesses is increasing dramatically. Provincially led solutions are required, as the legislation and funding for such solutions and the expertise rest with them and the caring NGO and nonprofits that they support. Immediate progress on funding supports for private developers and nonprofits to build social housing and rental units is essential. Also essential is a federally supported and provincially led plan to address mental health and addictions, which often are the precursors to homelessness. In our downtown, the Centennial Building site is a critical piece of land in the urban core and is in need of redevelopment with little recent action. We believe a new solution for the Justice Building needs to be built downtown in order to support the business core of the city. And finally, the city is committed to revitalizing the Officer Square site to balance public safety needs, historical significance, green space, and programming activities. These important projects are all critical to rejuvenating the downtown core as we resume activities post-pandemic. So that's the outline of our key issues that we hope we addressed in the letter that was sent to you. The order of speaking tonight was just done randomly out of a coffee cup, not the hat. And the order of presentations will be David Kuhn on behalf of the Green Party, Mackenzie Tomlinson for the NDP, and Nicole Pico from the Liberal Party. Mr. Kuhn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Mike and councillors, staff. Good evening, and to the audience at home. Thanks for creating this opportunity for us to speak to the city and to the folks in our city. People love Fredericton. We all love our city. That was one of the things I knew it, but when I first became MLA and was having my first round of community meetings, that was something that in our facilitated community meetings, because we didn't know how to do them when we started out, that really came through how much Frederictonians love their city and how much pride they have in it and the kinds of things that they particularly love about it. One of the things is increasingly the diversity in the city that we're seeing, and it's so important in so many ways to broaden our sort of cultural experiences and understanding across cultures and enrich our arts and life of the city, as well as helping to grow the local economy. One of the things that I'm committed to, I'm convinced this needs to be done, and that is New Brunswick needs to sign an agreement with Ottawa to give us greater autonomy over immigration, so we can ensure that we have a way to manage that immigration that meets our needs in New Brunswick, that avoids countless slip-ups with more remote federal government and real human beings who are newcomers or international students or other people who are trying to gain their permanent residency here. And I've seen it time and time again as an MLA. If we had greater authority locally, we could, I think, create a much smoother route to permanent residency here in Fredericton and in New Brunswick than currently is the case. And also to give us a sense that we're in charge of helping to integrate our newcomers into the city. The settlement is one thing, but integration is another. We are the capital city, and we need to shine when it comes to the services we provide in public life, like our Playhouse now, Performing Arts Center soon, we hope, Aquatic Center that we need, transit. You can make a list. And I think one of the things that needs to be driven home in the next government is that this is the capital of the province. It's not every other city, it is the capital, and it needs to be treated like the capital. That happens in other places. It needs to happen here because the capital is kind of the calling card for the entire province. And you need it to just be firing on all cylinders and come across that way to visitors who come to our city. And that's what needs to happen. To help make that happen, I think that we need to restructure the Regional Service Commission system around cities to create what I call a Metropolitan Service Commission to truly enable metropolitan sort of services to be delivered and shared around Greater Fredericton. So I say metropolitan, Greater Fredericton, so that the truly rural areas that are more remote are not grafted onto the city, but are often their own sort of more rural service commission. So that we truly function like a metropolitan area, including the way services are managed and delivered, because I mean, in reality, that's what it is. That's how we live in this place. It's whether we're in city boundaries or outside the city boundaries, it is a metropolitan area, and it needs to be, we need to organize around it that way. With respect to tax reform, we would do an inquiry into taxation overall to look at fairness and what needs to change, because our taxation system has, well, it's just full of problems that have built up over time. So there's lots to be done. And clearly the balance in terms of what revenue flows to cities and what flows to the province needs to be readjusted. There's no question about that. But the way taxation is approached, the way assessments are done, need to change. The unconditional grant formula, the mayor of Sackville gave me a tutorial on that once when I was visiting, and it hurt my head trying to understand how that works. So let's fix that unconditional grant formula so it actually achieves what it was intended to achieve and works without, you know, upper level calculus or whatever is involved in getting to the answer at the end of it. It's unbelievable. At the end of it, I thought I understood, but I couldn't explain it again after that to anybody. So we need to fix that. Fredericton is in a great place in terms of its commitment to local economic development, traveling the province. I see lots of areas that don't have that, and the commitment the city has made to that is so evident. The consequences of that commitment to local economic development through things like Ignite Fredericton, and that's made a huge difference in our city. And now we see the cyber center, cyber security building yesterday, not yesterday, a couple days ago, I toured it, and it was really impressive. If we had had our program in place to ensure there was some capital up front to green that building, that would have been a green building too, but maybe we can retrofit it someday. So lots of opportunities there to support. The potential there is great. I see it linked directly to a proper rollout of the smart grid around the province as a showcase for the rest of Canada and beyond, how we are going to protect this smart grid from potential hacking and attacks. And there's a great opportunity to link those two. We've got Siemens here, got the cybersecurity initiative growing. Let's connect them together. On the green energy sector, we've got a number of companies both within the city and just on the outside, or outskirts of the city, who've been working in the green energy, renewable energy sort of space, but have been stifled in terms of their growth by unsupportive policies and legislation in the Electricity Act that creates unnecessary barriers to them. Whether you're talking about Jump Energy here, which was developed out of by the folks at Hotspot Parking, or the other two companies nearby, the potential is huge We just need to knock down some barriers. And I did try to do that with a bill in the legislature, which unfortunately was not supported despite my best efforts, but which would have enabled municipalities, for example, to enter into a contract with a renewable energy supplier, like one of the companies around here, for, say, wind power, which would save the municipality money because it's cheaper than what you buy from NB Power, to support the power demands in our public buildings, municipal buildings in the city. All we needed was to pay NB Power a toll for using their wires. This is done in Nova Scotia. It's not, something that's novel, but something we should have here. Anyways, it didn't pass, but I'll get it through, hopefully, if I have the opportunity at some point, because it makes sense fiscally, and it makes sense in terms of reducing our carbon footprint, and everyone would be proud of having that kind of power supporting power use in the city. The city has taken great leaps in terms of incorporating solar in some of its buildings, and this would be kind of the next step. With respect to housing, we need legislative change provincially to provide more tools for the municipality to ensure developers will include affordable units within their housing development, so we have more mixed units being built. We need to ensure more portable rent subsidies, some improvements to the Tenancies Act, Residential Tenancies Act, but most important, to finally fund the Housing First strategy that CAG developed here some time ago. It's well worked out, it's comprehensive, it's totally budgeted, but it was not front and center when the negotiations occurred first with the Gallant government and then with the Higgs government with Ottawa on the joint federal provincial funding program for housing. And so there really is just money to keep the organizations operating rather than implement Housing First, which is what really needs to be done, fully implemented. There's great initiatives going on in that direction in the city, but we need the full meal deal here, and that's got to come from provincial cooperation. On mental health care that Mayor Mikey mentioned, does that mean I'm 9 or 10? I was watching for his arm. That's good. I'm almost there. Mental health care. We need the necessary funding to turn our mental health mobile crisis response team into a 24-hour 7 service, just like police, just like fire, just like paramedics. Today, in this reality that we've got today, we need our mobile mental health team treated the same way as first responders, 24/7. We can do it, and we need to do it. And finally, on addictions, the Riverstone Recovery Center is, well, not just on addictions, but the Riverstone Recovery Center that's open now in Fredericton is a wonderful model of how we can support people with addictions and help them, that could be rolled out around the province. Horizon is not getting behind it like it should. Department of Health is not getting behind it as it should. I'm committed to making that work. But we have other examples: the Downtown Community Health Center, Clinic 554, and the Horizon Midwifery Center in Fredericton, all in Fredericton. It should be a huge draw for people to come to Fredericton, and it should be used. This is the capital, and it's great they're all here as models to build off for the rest of the province. So I rest my case. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it. And I should have said to all three of you, I do appreciate you taking your time to be with us tonight. I know it's been a pretty hectic last few weeks, and we appreciate you being able to carve off some time for us. Next would be Mackenzie Thomason from the NDP.
I hate being tall. Okay. I want to start off by thanking all of you here today. I know your terms, for those of you who didn't want to seek re-election, your term should have ended last May. And I want to thank all of you for your commitment to your city and to New Brunswick as a whole. It's not an easy task to ask you to stay an extra year or more, depending on how things go. And I want to thank you very much on behalf of my party for doing that for your city. So yeah, I want to thank you very much also for inviting me here today. It's, believe it or not, sometimes we don't get invited to things, but that's fine. We have broad shoulders. So yeah, I'm actually very glad that that letter included the Playhouse. I was speaking to, last federal election when I was running, I was speaking to a woman who is on the board or is working with the Playhouse 2.0 group on Facebook, and she actually graduated from Leo Hayes, and she had also mentioned to me that Leo Hayes doesn't have school theater either. So as a theater kid, I was a theater nerd growing up, and I'm almost proud of it. it's disheartening to me to see how the provincial government up until this point has been treating local arts programs, local arts centers, local community centers, because that's really when we're talking about theater programs, we're talking about things like the Playhouse. That is what they are. They are places for people who enjoy that, who enjoy being on stage, who enjoy doing arts and music. That is their community center. Not all of us like sports, not all of us like, poetry readings, stuff like that. Some of us like being on stage and active. And it's very important that when we are talking about municipal funding in partnership with the provincial government, that funding is made available for municipalities to invest in places like a Playhouse. At a provincial level, making sure that all high schools have a proper theater set up to actually allow students to participate. Because it's about growing students and having them participate again in the community when they graduate. As far as an aquatic center and other other places for students, for community members to congregate, to use. I know it's COVID times, so congregation is not, not really a priority right now. We are trying to keep our physical distance, but it is very important that when we're talking about a relationship between municipalities and the provincial government, that we are talking about increased funding for sports facilities, for arts facilities, for theaters and aquatic centers, for places for people to congregate after COVID is done and we're back to whatever our new normal is, so that people can enjoy the city that they live in and be attracted to a city that they live in. As a 23-year-old, it's very clear that my age demographic is leaving the province in a much higher percentage than any other age demographic. And I think part of that, while there's a lot at the provincial level that we can talk about, it's also very clear that when people are attached to their city, when they feel a sense of community, they are more inclined to stay in that community. And of course, by virtue of how things work, stay in the province. So I have the NDP has a lot of provincial policies that revolve around keeping people in the province. But what we don't talk about as much, and it's something I am trying to talk about more, is our relationship with municipalities such as Fredericton, St. John, Moncton, Edmundston, Bathurst, Miramichi. I can't list them all. Tracy, because that's where I live. So it's very important that when we're talking about a new relationship, that is at the forefront. It's that making sure people feel a sense of community to stay in their community and stay in the province. As far as we do talk about renewable green economies in our platform, and David Kuhn brought it up as well, it's about making sure that starts at the bottom. So I am a very big proponent of having NB Power be the universal provider of power to the province. I think it allows them to deliver power cheaper, to bulk buy in supplies and services and stuff like that. But as power generation goes, there's no reason why municipalities can't have a deal with the provincial government to be able to invest in companies in your cities to be able to produce electricity, not just for your public buildings, but for your, basically sell it to NB Power, who then delivers it to everywhere it needs to go. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I always worry that I'm running over. Okay, perfect. But yeah, it's really about making sure that the provincial government is willing to work with municipalities. I think that over the last few successive governments, we have had issues, and I am obviously not a councillor or a mayor, but I believe I would be okay in saying that the relationship has not been as well orchestrated as it could have been. As great as we make our systems, there's always room for improvement, and making sure that we are moving forward towards that goal of improving our relationship with municipalities is definitely something the NDP and myself is very, very happy to think about and very happy to implement should we be given the chance. And again, it's very important for me to discuss. I keep going back to a renewed relationship, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's really about making sure that services are accessible to the people who live in your wards, live in your cities. And I speak to you knowing that you are all from the city of Fredericton, that you're all very passionate about the city of Fredericton. I also probably don't have to tell any of you to go vote, because I'm sure you all understand that's a very important civic duty. But I do want to make sure that I am clearly articulating the fact that the NDP wants a new relationship from a provincial government with its municipalities. I talk a lot about helping the economy from the bottom up, investing in people over profits, and making sure that everybody has the same ability to go far. But that also goes over to our municipalities, because our municipalities are our base point of government in this country. So making sure that municipalities have the ability to promote themselves, to promote their tourism, to promote their youth and their seniors, and to promote the services that your citizens need and that our citizens need, is really the cornerstone of making sure that provincial governments are able to provide services that municipalities can't on a much broader basis, such as general health care and stuff like that. But talking on mental health specifically, the NDP does have a plan, again, provincially, to make sure that when we talk about a Medicare expansion, mental health care is in that Medicare expansion. So we want to make sure dental care, eye care, and pharmaceutical care specifically, and mental health are all part of that Medicare expansion. And when we talk about that, we also understand that some of the burden is going to be on municipalities to either provide those services or to make sure those services are well regulated. And again, it's about having that renewed relationship, having a different relationship, and having a relationship that works. And not just a relationship that works, but a relationship that is based on communication. Things change very often. Things change, I would argue, at least on a yearly basis. And municipalities need to have the ability and need to be welcomed to sit down with the premier, to sit down with government and say, things have changed in our city, our circumstances have changed, our funding has changed, our population has changed, and we need a better deal, we need a new relationship. And when we talk about immigration and getting people to stay here, again, the municipalities are at the forefront, they're at the base of that pyramid that we have set up in our country of local government. And I think that when people are encouraged to stay at a provincial level, they're obviously going to stay in more often than not, they're going to stay in municipalities. And when we encourage them to stay in municipalities, obviously they're not going to leave the province. So when we work all these things together, and when we are communicating, and when we are creating that new relationship with the province and with municipalities, I think it is the cornerstone of any NDP government. It really should be the cornerstone of any government to make sure that the municipalities are funded properly. I think I'm almost out of time, so I want to, again, thank you all very much for extending your terms. That I don't pretend like that's a small feat. For any of you who did not want to run again for re-election, I doubly thank you. And for anybody who does want to seek re-election, I surely, to goodness, hope you get the chance this year. But if not, I wish you all the best of luck when that chance does come around. Again, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And have a wonderful night. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Nicole Pico of the Liberal Party.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Your Worship, council members, ladies and gentlemen, fellow candidates. I'm here representing Kevin Vickers, the leader of the Liberal Party. He sends his best wishes and regrets that he is unable to attend this evening. So I'm going to use this also as the person running for Fredericton South to, anyway. Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir. En tant que candidate libérale pour Fredericton Sud, je suis heureuse d'avoir l'occasion de discuter la position de mon parti sur un certain nombre de questions prioritaires pour la ville de Fredericton. So who am I? I was raised in Fredericton and have spent most of my adult life here. I recently retired from a 30-year career in the public service, through which I worked in just about every department of the provincial government. I believe I have a unique perspective on how government works, and to be honest, sometimes doesn't work. The provincial government must do better. It must be more attuned to local issues. There are other voices to be heard, other ideas to engage, and better solutions to all our challenges. As MLA for Fredericton South, I will be a strong voice for this city. I pledge to do my best to see that the priorities of our capital city are supported, that issues are resolved, and that a meaningful and productive relationship with the provincial government continues to flourish. One of our key priorities will be to see that Fredericton has a new performing arts center. I have fond memories of outstanding performances on the Playhouse stage. Continuing to attract world-class performers and to host a vibrant local performing arts community are key in any downtown development. Viewed as part of an overall economic development strategy and to add to our quality of life, investments in the Performing Arts Center just make sense. The Liberal Party is also supportive of the construction of a new aquatic facility in the city. This community project will require, as you mentioned, Your Worship, the collaboration of all levels of government in the region. And I assure you that as MLA, I will work hard to ensure that available sources of funding are unlocked in order to see this through to completion. I certainly appreciate the efforts the city has made in consulting the community and professionals with regards to the Officer Square revitalization. I understand that further consultation with Indigenous communities will be undertaken by the Department of Tourism, Heritage and Culture. And again, I will make it a priority to work with all parties to see that this is successful. A good number of my working years were spent in the Centennial Building. Its current state is frankly a huge embarrassment. The former Liberal government's plan to refurbish the building and to build a desperately needed new courthouse would have saved taxpayers $2.5 million a year upon completion. Regrettably, the current government's decision to cancel this project has cost taxpayers roughly $11 million. COVID-19 has no doubt had an impact on the current project proposal, but if ever there was a case for government investment in public infrastructure, the Centennial Building sure is it. We need a community-driven solution and we need it now. I will ensure that we get to it immediately. I can also commit to you that a Liberal government will also get to work on a new courthouse to be built in the downtown. The state of the current courthouse is again an embarrassment. It's not safe, cases are being delayed, and costs are being incurred to work around these issues. Fredericton's business community has been hit hard by the pandemic, and part of our economic recovery must be a revitalization of the downtown core through infrastructure investments. Investing in infrastructure and maintaining and improving our hard assets are key responsibilities of government. Choosing not to invest in a timely manner costs taxpayers more in the long run. I am troubled by the current provincial government's lack of investment in core infrastructure and that they risk the loss of federal matching dollars. If elected, I will work with you to ensure these projects are funded. A Liberal government will create a predictable multi-year capital infrastructure plan that will include leveraging federal dollars whenever possible. We cannot afford to leave funds on the table. Fredericton faces some unique challenges when it comes to addressing the impacts of climate change. The federal government's Disaster Mitigation Assistance Fund provides much needed supports for projects that reduce the impacts of natural hazards and extreme weather events. A Liberal government will work closely with city officials to ensure alignment on renewal projects and infrastructure projects and climate change adaptation projects. We recognize that many municipalities struggle to provide the services their communities need and deserve, including fire and police protection. Working together with municipal leaders and local service districts, a Liberal government will look at reforming the property tax system to ensure fairness and sustainability. This would include working to find ways for municipalities to address their most significant cost pressures. We are fortunate to call New Brunswick and Fredericton home. Through the leadership of Dr. Russell and her team, the collaboration of the COVID-19 All-Party Cabinet Committee, and the efforts of individual New Brunswickers, we have fared well through this pandemic. We all know that New Brunswick and Fredericton are great places to live and raise a family, and now we have even more reason to tell the world about all the possibilities here. A key part of our party's economic recovery plan is to grow our population. We must redouble our efforts to attract and retain more people, including immigrants and young people, to the province. A Liberal government will establish a population growth target of 100,000 more people in New Brunswick by 2030. We will aggressively promote New Brunswick both nationally and internationally. We will work with the federal government to increase the number of newcomers we can welcome here through the provincial nominee program. As well, we will target specific job sectors in order to meet labor force demand, and we will renew the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. This aligns directly with our support for specific initiatives such as small modular reactors and cybersecurity. And I know I'm preaching to the choir about cybersecurity. It remains a huge economic opportunity for Fredericton. The investments and focus of the previous Liberal government helped to build an important cluster here in the capital. However, the state-of-the-art cybersecurity building at Knowledge Park remains empty. We will aggressively pursue growth in this and the IT sector. My running mate, Steve Burns, brings a wealth of experience to this file, and you can be sure he will light a fire under all of us and reignite this sector. There's been a lot of discussion about the economic recovery, and rightly so. I do feel, though, that we need to talk about a social recovery. We need to talk about homelessness, affordable shelter, mental health, and addictions. Like many of you, I have been fortunate to have had a life of relative privilege and have not faced housing insecurity. And my privilege allows me access to a whole system of services. Unfortunately, the system does not meet the needs of marginalized people. That's why I believe we must adopt a very solid housing first strategy that includes supports for residents and for landlords so that they too can be partners in making homelessness disappear. The tools are there at all levels of government. There are funds and programs to get this done. Dealing with mental health issues, which are very often complicated by addictions, also needs to be a part of ending homelessness. I strongly believe we must bring services directly to those in need, and we must do it with harm reduction as a central part of our efforts. This is true now more than ever, given further restrictions to access to services during the pandemic. Working together with all of our partners, within the first 30 days of taking office, a Liberal government will begin to implement the $300 million Government of Canada and New Brunswick Housing Agreement. In addition, we will appoint an implementation task force on homelessness to support plans already developed by communities and to ensure that all levels of government are acting together to address the issue. Joined by our leader, Kevin Vickers, Stephen Horstman, Stephen Burns, Chris Pelkey, Chris Duffy, Randy McKean, and Eldon Hunter, all representing the ridings around the Fredericton area, I believe we have a team of candidates who will bring strong leadership and support to the Fredericton region. Thank you again for the opportunity to address the issues you have raised and to share our vision for the city of Fredericton. Je vous remercie énormément pour votre attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, with just a few seconds to spare. So very well done. So again, on behalf of council, I do really want to thank you for being here tonight. Time is precious, and I know how busy and stressful it's been for you. So I want to wish every one of you, your parties, all the best, and individually all the best. My wife and I voted today in the advanced poll. It was seamless, so election NB, very well done. So everybody get out and make sure they vote on the 14th. Exercise your civic duty. And we will be talking to all the parties regardless afterwards on the 15th. But all the best, and all the best for the city of Fredericton as well. Thank you. Well done.
I know. Good job there, Steve. We're like the applauders here. We always get this started.
What's right?
Your Worship and Councillor Erickson, are you staying on for the media scrum?
Okay.
Thank you. Your Worship, if you could see your email.
Thanks for the call for the arts.
I
was too.
And Lauren, you're going to call me in the phone.
I was theater and choir. I had the double whammy.
I played the trumpet. I was a
You
tenor.
had it all.
I was
Okay.
the whole package of people who got picked on. It was great.
Yeah.